Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Sri Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Vidya Mataji, when you're ready, please start Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskrityam nadam cheva naruttamam devim saraswati vidyasam tato jayam udiraye nasta preshya bhareshu nityam bhagavati sevaya bhagavati uttamasloke bhakti bhavaiti naistihike. Today we are reading from Canto 10, chapter 54, the marriage of Krishna and Rukmini, text 41 through 60, text 41. Again, Balarama addressed Krishna. Blinded by conceit and their personal opulences, proud men, proud men offend others for the sake of such things as kingdom, land, wealth, women, honor, and power. Text 42. To Rukmini, Balarama said, "Your attitude is unfair, for like an ignorant person, you wish good to those who are inimical to all living beings and who have done evil to your true well-wishers." Text 43. The Supreme Lord's Maya makes men forget their real selves, and thus, taking the body for the self, they consider others to be friends, enemies, or neutral parties. Text 44. Those who are bewildered perceive the one supreme soul who resides in all embodied beings as many, just as one may perceive the light in the sky or the sky itself as many. Text 45. This material body, which has a beginning and an end, is composed of the physical elements, the senses, and the modes of nature. The body, imposed on the self by material ignorance, causes one to experience a cycle of birth and death. Text 46. O intelligent lady, the soul never undergoes contact with or separation from insubstantial material objects, because the soul is their very origin and illuminator. Thus, the soul resembles the sun, which neither comes in contact with nor separates from the sense of sight and what is seen. Text 47. Birth and other transformations are undergone by the body who never by the self, just as change occurs for the moon's phases, has never but never for the moon, though the new moon day may be called the moon's death. Text 48. As a sleeping person perceives himself, the objects of sense enjoyment, and the fruits of his acts within the illusion of a dream, so one who is unintelligent undergoes material existence. Text 49. Therefore, with transcendental knowledge, dispel the grief that is weakening and confounding your mind. Please resume your natural mood, O princess of the pristine smile. Text 50. Sukadev Goswami said, thus enlightened by Lord Balarama, slender Rukmini forgot her depression and steadied her mind by spiritual intelligence. Text 51. Left with only his life heir, cast out by his enemies and deprived of his strength and bodily radiance, Rukmi could not forget how he had been disfigured. In frustration, he constructed for his residence a large city, which is called Bujakata. Text 52. Because he had promised, I will not re enter Kundina until I have killed wicked Krishna and brought back my younger sister, in a mood of angry frustration, Rukmi took up residence at that very place. Text 53. Thus defeating all the opposing kings, the Supreme Personality of Godhead brought the daughter of Bhishmaka to his capital and married her according to the Vedic injunctions. O protector of the Kurus. Text 54. At that time, O king, there was great rejoicing in all the homes of Yadupuri. whose citizens loved only Krishna, chief of the Yadus. Text 55. All the men and women, full of joy and adorned with shining jewels and earrings, brought wedding presents, which they reverently offered to the exquisitely dressed groom and bride. Text 56. The city of the Vrishnis appeared most beautiful. There were tall, festive columns and also archways decorated with flower garlands, cloth banners, and precious gems. Arrangements of auspicious, full water pots, a guru scented incense, and lamps graced every doorway. Text 57. The city streets were cleansed by the intoxicated elephants belonging to the beloved kings who were guests at the wedding. And these elephants further enhanced the beauty of the city by placing trunks of plantain and betel nut trees in all the doorways. Text 58. Those who belong to the royal families of the Kuru, Srinjaya, Kaikeka, Vidarbha, Yadu, and Kunti clans joyfully met one another in the midst of the crowds of people excitedly running here and there. Text 59. The kings and their daughters were totally astonished to hear the story of Rukmini's abduction, which was being glorified in song everywhere. Text 60. Dwarka's citizens were overjoyed to see Krishna, the Lord of all opulence, united with Rukmini, the goddess of fortune. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of Canto 10, Chapter 54, the marriage of Krishna and Rukmini. Hare Krishna.
And thank you so much, Vidyamati, for reading the translations. Hare Krishna to Sundaracala Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Sri Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Yeah, whenever you're ready, please start, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Sundaram Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you so much for attending today's session. And thank you, Vidya Mataji, for reading today's translations wonderfully. With brief prayers, we'll start today's session. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmeditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namo. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatpadeshakarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Dear all, happy Monday to everybody. We are discussing chapter 54 from Canto 10, the marriage of Krishna and Rukmini, as we heard from Mataji. So this chapter describes how Lord Krishna defeated the opposing kings after kidnapping Rukmini, and so how he was with the Rukmini's brother Rukmini was disfigured, brought Rukmini to his capital and married her. That is what actually is the description, overall overview. So so we are starting today from verse 41. So verse 41, Balarama, this is a continuation of Balaram's intervention when Rukmini was being disfigured by Krishna for his grievous acts. And when Balaram has intervened out of compassion, he also was more compassionate to Rukmini actually. To pacify Rukmini, he starts rebuking Krishna in a superficial way, not in reality, just to pacify. And in his role as an elder brother, he did that. So we have in 41st verse, Balarama is addressing Krishna, blinded by conceit with personal opulences. Proud men offend others for the sake of such things such as kingdom, land, wealth, women, honor, and power. So guessing that Rukmini would be thinking in herself that it may be true that Kshatriya Rukmini might think, it's true that Kshatriya can kill his relative, but he should not disfigure him in a ghastly manner, like Krishna did to my brother Rukmi. So for that, Balarama is speaking this verse to satisfy her. Oh Krishna, those who are proud abuse others in order to get kingdom, land, money, power, etc. In general, public people do it, but we should not do it. Being in our position as a Supreme Lord, we should not do it. And persons blinded by pride, wealth act in this way. We should not do this since we are not blind. That's what Balaram is inferring to Krishna. In next verse, to Rukmini, Balarama is addressing in this verse. Your attitude is unfair, for like an ignorant person, you wish good to others who are inimical to all living beings and who have done evil to your true well-wishers. So this rule that the rule of the war, that enemy should be defeated and made insignificant. It's a rule of the war, and it is as per the religious code. What Krishna did is nothing wrong. That's what Balaram is coming back to. So he initially started chastising Krishna. He's now trying to, he observed that Rukmini is not pacified despite of his words. And so he started speaking philosophy and trying to give moral codes also to Rukmini. And Krishna's internal thought is that when Balarama spoke this verse, revealed by our Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Prabhupada, is that Krishna treatment of relatives who have evil intentions to all beings, such as shaving your brother, which you think is wrong for them, is actually correct. This is what Balaram is inferring, right? And Balaram is supporting Krishna in this verse. Only ignorant people who actually think like this, that Krishna has done something wrong by disfiguring Rukmi. But you as an intelligent person shouldn't do this. And just as you desire bad for those among all living beings who appear to show animosity, you desire good for Rukmi because he is right now your brother. So you're trying to show friendship. Others, you are trying to be neutral. This is disturbed intelligence for Rukmi, like that of ignorant people, Balaram is saying. This is one or other interpretation given by our acharyas. You wish bad fortune to, among all beings, you wish this is another interpretation which is totally different from the way of our understanding from the translations, where Jiva Goswami Prabhupada is saying, this is Balaram, it could also mean this, where among all beings you wish bad fortune to Shishupala and others who are confirmed as enemies, and you wish good to their friends, Rukmi, who assists them. Thus you have disturbed intelligence. So these are such wonderful realizations only our acharyas could come up with. And the next verse is, Supreme Lord's Maya makes men forget their real selves. Thus, Nati Vidu Swarda Gatimhi Vishnu. They don't know the supreme goal of life. They miss it. And because of Lord's Maya, make men forget their real selves. And thus, taking the body of self, they consider others to be friends, enemies, and neutral parties. So, as a continuation of speaking the self-realization topic, for which Rukmini is definitely it's not befitting for Rukmini to hear this, but it's a pastime. She is in fact the Antarangika Shakti, she is an eternal consort of Lord Krishna. She doesn't need it, but Balaram is doing as a pastime He is trying to give this philosophy. For an elevated person like you, such bad judgment is not proper. But for worldly people, this is their natural tendency. For those who think that their bodies are themselves, there is a bewilderment, but not for the people in knowledge. Prabhupada says in Krishna book. Those who do not experience Krishna prema look for friendship elsewhere. The devotee is such a very grave point explained by Acharyas here. This verse actually means people forget themselves, their real themselves, and they consider others to be friends, enemies, and so on. The reason why they do that is, our acharyas are saying, those who do not experience Krishna prema look for friendship elsewhere. And people thinking themselves to be the body, right? That was influence of Maya. They act in a way that they are neutral, they are friendly, and they're inimical to someone. So they act in these three different ways. And that is being condemned by Lord Balaram in this verse. Yata jyotir yata nabha. In the next verse, 44, those who are bewildered perceive the one supreme soul who residing in all embodied beings as many, just as one may perceive the light in the sky or sky itself as many. This is a wonderful verse where it is described by Balaram. Balaram is now addressing to Rukmini Devi. The Atmas, those who identify with bodies, are accepted by fools to be supreme. Right? Rukmini, who is identifying himself with his body, he's an inferior person. He's not in a higher position. He's not even self-realized. And you are lamenting for such a brother. And only fools accept such a person as a supreme. When illusion dissolves in some persons, they perceive Atma in its true from according to qualification with a shadow of prema. And if one has not seen the sun, a lamp is accepted as supreme. This is the analogy again. If one has not seen the sun never, then they will accept a lamp to be the supreme, like a bug which is probably born in a dark room. It doesn't know about sun. Having not seen the expansive sky, flies take the space in an Udumbara tree to be the supreme sky. If there is a fly which is living under a tree called Udumba tree, it might think there is an expansive. This is the most that might exist in the creation. This is an expansive sky under this tree, but actually, in reality, there is a bigger sky. So only it indicates the ignorance of the person who perceiving. There is a variety only because of the bodies. There is no variety in Atma. Yoga Swami Prabhupada is saying that there is a variety only because of bodies. There is no variety in Atma. And the variety arises because of variety in Atma's location. Actually, I didn't understood this point by myself. I'm going to Sundaracala Prabhuji, please let me know at the end if you understood this point where Yoga Swami Prabhupada is saying the variety arises because of the variety in Atma's location. I thought it is body. Location means body, where Jiva has taken shelter of a particular body. That's why the variety arises. That's what I understood. Please correct me there. And to explain that concept further, Sukadeva Goswami has given the analogies here. Actually, Balramji has given analogies here. The first one is light perceived as many reflection. Like when we see light reflected in a pot, water pot, light reflected in lake, light reflected on the ocean. All these are the same sun, but they are reflected and they appear like multiple. Like Supreme Lord also is appearing as multiple, but fools only perceive that they are different. But it is only one Lord who is reflected in every single soul. And there is in Svetasvatara Upanishad also it is mentioned, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahuda Yo Vidadati Kaman. The Lord, one Lord, Eko. But there are so many living entities who have taken shelter under him. Eko Bahuda Yo Vidadati Kaman. And that living entity has been fulfilling the desires of all these Bahuda, many living entities from time immemorial. And that was the position, that is the position of Supreme Lord. In verse number 45, beyond some, this material body, which has a beginning and an end, is composed of physical elements, senses, and modes of nature. The body imposed on the self by the material ignorance causes one to experience the cycle of birth and death. Actually, what is this body? It's just made of physical elements, dravya, right? That's called dravya in Sanskrit. And it is also composed of senses and the material modes of material nature, gunas. The body, if you see, dravya prana gunatmakaha, dehadi antavan nisha. And such a body is subject to an expiry. And only because of avidya, right, one considers that to be the self. We are not that body which is subject, which is made of dravya, prana, and guna. Samsharayati dehinam. And because of that illusion, one is taking up samsara again and again, subject to birth and death. Here, the body has three aspects. Adhibhuta aspect, which is the dravya part, the senses, and the senses are related to the atma, which is the consciousness, which is senses are based on this consciousness. So this consciousness of atma is spread till senses, right? And if you see, the prana is the ajatma aspect, or the senses. And it is these, the senses are, and the body makes the jiva who thinks that he is the body and becomes subject of samsara. And this takes by ignorance, pure ignorance only, because of which one takes up body again and again. And it is Adi Daivam aspect is gunas, the material modes. And thus, because of the association with the gunas, one is repeatedly undergoes attraction and repulsion in this world. I am attracted to something and I am repulsive to something. And this is just purely because of bodily conception of life. And because of which one jiva is rotating in this world. Balaramji is saying. Oh, intelligent lady, Balaramji is addressing Rukmini Devi, the soul never undergoes contact with the separation from insubstantial material objects because the soul is their very origin and illuminator. And thus the soul remembers this, resembles the sun, which is which neither comes in contact with nor separates from the senses of sight and what is seen. This is really complicated words which were used, sentences that are told by Balramji are very complicated. And I apologize for not able to explain it properly in a more easier way to understand. But I'm trying my best. The material world is like a prison. In this verse, purport is saying criminals are determined to commit crimes and thus the government find it necessary to maintain a prison system. Similarly, the Supreme Lord maintains the material universes because the conditioned souls are determined to rebel against him and try to enjoy without his loving cooperation. That hetutvat is used to describe the soul, meaning that the soul is the cause of matter, assembling itself into a material body. A jiva himself is creating a material body by his desires. That prasiddhe indicates the soul is the cause of bodies being perceived. He himself is the cause for these temporary material bodies. And it also could indicate that prasiddhe, that this fact is very well known to the enlightened people. It's not that it is not unknown. It is well known to the enlightened people. First, this verse can be explained referring to Jiva, Atma and matter. If you see what, oh intelligent lady, soul never undergoes contact or separation from insubstantial material objects, right? This could mean, when we, with the perspective of Jivatma and matter, the explanation goes like this. No permanent contact of soul with the material body. And Jiva is the maintainer of the material body. It is not contaminated by it. That's the point. When we look at the Paramatma aspect and Jiva aspect, Paramatma and Jiva, just like Jiva Tattva and matter, how matter is dependent on Jiva, and Jiva is the source of the matter. I mean, because of the desires, the matter had to be manifested so that he could exercise. Supreme Lord is sanctioning it. Mother Nature is facilitating it. We have heard this in Bhagavad Gita. So because the Paramatma is the source of manifestation, Jiva, Paramatma is never contaminated either by the Jiva or by the body manifested for the Jiva by the Lord. So these are the two explanations given. The analogy given is the sun has no contamination from the eye or the form manifest. There are so many forms, objects manifested in this world. And there are so many jivas who are having eyes who could perceive those sense objects. And none of this, even though sun is a source, kind of source for the perception and some of the sense objects, but sun is never contaminated by them. Paramatma is like that sun. Eye is like that of a jiva. And the form of that sense object is that of a body. That's the understanding given. Jiva has no connection with matter, consequently, it has no disconnection with matter. First of all, if there is a connection, you can assume that there is a disconnection. No connection with matter because of, because Jiva is the source of the matter. So further ahead, in the next verse, 47th verse, you can see that since birth and other transformations are undergone by the body, but not by the self. So this is explained, since I have been born in the here, because he is addressing, continuing to Balaramji addressing Rukmini Devi. Since I have, Rukmini might think, since I have been born in this family, why connection and disconnection with family members not occur for me? Definitely, that's why I'm lamenting for my brother Rukmini. If changes, for that, Balaram is saying, if changes do not exist for Atma, what can be said of you, O Rukmini, who is the Swarupa Shakti of the Lord, which is a form of eternity, who are form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge? That was the question posed by Balaramji in this verse. Similarly, in the next verse, 48, right? So, as a sleeping person perceives himself the objects of sense enjoyment, the fruits of his acts within the illusion of a dream, the one who is unintelligent undergoes material existence. Only because of unintelligence and illusion of a dream. It's actually a dream, it's actually not a reality. The body itself is a dream. But only because of unintelligence, one is experiencing the fruits of their activities in the dreams. And one is experiencing also the objects of sense enjoyment. Balaramji is saying. In the next verse, Lord Balarama is reminding Srimati Rukmini that she is the eternal goddess of fortune performing pastimes with the Lord in this world and should thus give up her so-called grief. Verse number 50, enlightened by Lord Balarama, slender Rukmini forgot her depression and steadied her mind by spiritual intelligence. She was taught directly by Balaramji because Balaram was omniscient Bhagavata, right? Bhagavan, he was addressed as Bhagavan in this 50th verse. Knowing the intention of Krishna, Lord spoke like that, Balaramji. Ramena means by he who gives always happiness by his speech or his activities. So he was the cause of happiness to Rukmini Devi at this point by enlightening her. She concentrated her mind constantly on Krishna in prema, samadhave. In 51st verse, left with only life air cast out by his enemies, deprived of his strength and bodily radiance, Rukmi could not forget how he was disfigured. In frustration, he constructed for his residence a large city which is called a Bhojakata. As you can see, with frustration, Rukmini has constructed a big city. This is very wondrous. See how such a great personality also he is. Uh, his desires were thwarted, firstly, that he lost his strength, his armies, and he could not, he lost against his enemies. His desires are thwarted, that he could not get hold of his sister. And then because of being disfigured, he was by Krishna, he was thwarted again. He was left in only his life hairs, only his body is left live, but actually life hairs are only remaining. All the appliances are taken, right? The fame is gone. Everybody is now laughing by seeing Rukmi situation. Then he was freed at the end, right? Then he began remembering his disfigurement. In this order, it was described how Rukmi has experienced uh, suffering. The verse shows that he was completely disrespected, basically. And the next verse is saying, because he had promised, I will not re-enter Kundaina until I have killed wicked Krishna and brought back my younger sister. So he could not fulfill that. Okay, the Kshatriya is a big insult that he could not fulfill his role. So he doesn't want to enter his kingdom. That's why he created another kingdom called, another small, as per Prabhupada, small village called Bhojakata. And the wedding was conducted later between Lord Krishna and Rukmini. That is what described in the next set of verses. Thus, defeating the opposing king, Supreme Lord brought the daughter of Bhishmaka to his capital and married her according to the Vedic injunctions of protector of the Kurus. There was more rejoicing among all humans, Nunam, than in Vaikunta with songs and music. Right? Such a wonderful verse. Nayatra Vaikunta Katha Sudhapaga. It's actually a place where glories of Krishna is being heard, is constantly sung, is called Vaikunta. In this place of rejoicing of Dwaraka, this place is even better than Vaikunta in terms of songs and music and celebrations and festivals. It's even granular than Vaikunta. That's what is being described. In the next verse, and because this is obviously Goloka Vrindavan, which is manifested in it, obviously it is more opulent than Vaikunta. And in the next verse, the city of Vrishnis appeared to be more beautiful. The beauty of Dwaraka city was described with wonderful lamps, incense, and the doorways, precious gems, studded with the houses studded with the precious gems, beautiful women and men dressed themselves with beautiful ornaments and all that were described. The opulence of Dwaraka city and its residents was described. The city streets was cleansed by intoxicated elephants. You know, there is a when the elephants which out of intoxication they release some kind of a saliva, and it actually inundated the streets of Dwaraka, because these elephants have arrived from different kings who were there to take part in the wedding. And these elephants further enhance the beauty of city by placing trunks of plantain and betel nut trees in all doorways. It looks like they withered and they usually it's a sport of elephant to actually pluck out these banana trees and all that and betel nut trees, and in fact they sprayed here and there. But they appeared so beautiful because some of the residents of Dwaraka, they have upraised them and put them beautifully in front of the houses. And so it is so naturally decorated. Even elephants are also serving Lord's, decorating for Lord's marriage. And in 58 verse, it is described, those who belong to the royal families of Kuru, Srinjaya, Kaikeya, Vaidarbha, Yadu, and Kunti clans joyfully met one another in the midst of crowds of people exceedingly running here and there. And kings who were called or described in this verse associating with each other, and they are very joyful. And Kurus include Bhishma, Dhritarashtra, and Pandavas. And Srunjayas are included Drupada, King Drupada. Kaikayas included Santardhana. The people of Vidarbha come out of affection for Rukmini. So that is actually Vidarbha. The whole group of citizens came out of affection for Rukmini. And also, there is, because Balarama had sages invite them and bring them, they did not feel uncomfortable, though their prince Rukmi was insulted. They still arrived because out of affection for Rukmi, the residents of Vidarbha. And Bhishmaka also came, Kratha also came, Kaishika also came. Yadavas included Ugrasena. Nanda and others also came from Raja, as per our acharyas, as they quoted Padma Purana for this. And 59th verse describes kings and their daughters were totally astonished to hear the story of Rukmini's abduction, which was being glorified in song and prayer. Now they are in the presence of the Lord. They're actually, the Dwarakavasis are actually, and all the kings who have arrived to Dwaraka from different parts of the countries, from the world, they are all immersed in the glorification of the Lord and songs about the Lord in the personal presence of Lord Krishna and Rukmini. That's the beauty of Krishna Katha. It can be released even in the personal presence of Krishna. The kings thought that their daughters should be given to Krishna also. That's what they internally were feeling. And 60th verse, with that we'll conclude. Dwaraka citizens were overjoyed to see Krishna, the Lord of all opulence, united with Rukmini, the goddess of fortune. With this, we conclude today's Bhagavatam session. Dear devotees, Janandara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you to everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Om,
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank
Hare Krishna, Sundaracala Prabhuji. Thank you for the nice class, Prabhu. Yeah, your understanding about the location in Jiva Goswami commentary is correct only, Prabhu. He's referring to the different bodies of the living entities. So the soul nature remains the same, whether I stay in ant body or a tiger body or a dog body or a human body.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.